The emergency lights flashed red throughout the council chamber, casting dark shadows across the faces of representatives from 47 different species. Ambassador Zixthar stood at the central podium, his three eyes blinking in sequence as he displayed the data that had brought them all here in such panic. "This cannot be ignored any longer," Zixthar said, his translator device converting his clicks and whistles into standard galactic language. "The humans have been building something in their outer system. Something big, something that violates every treaty they signed when we allowed them into our community." The holographic display showed a massive structure orbiting near Jupiter. It had been growing for 3 years, piece by piece, hidden behind sensor-dampening fields that the humans claimed were necessary for industrial safety. The other species had believed them because humans were new, barely 50 years into their relationship with the greater galaxy. They were supposed to be harmless, still learning, still weak. The Crethian representative slammed his armored fist on his console. "We should have never trusted them. Humans are violent. Their entire history is nothing but war after war. We knew this. Yet we welcomed them anyway." "They passed all the requirements," spoke the Ythrian delegate, her voice soft and melodic. "They had achieved faster than light travel. They had unified their world government. They met every standard we set." "Standards that clearly meant nothing," growled the Crethian. "Look at what they are building. Our deep space monitors have detected energy signatures that exceed our most powerful battle stations. This is not a research facility. This is a weapon." Zixthar pulled up more data and the room fell silent. The energy readings were impossible to explain through conventional understanding. Whatever power source the humans had developed, it was beyond anything the elder races had achieved in their thousands of years of civilization. "How is this possible?" asked the Shrath representative, his forked tongue tasting the air nervously. "We shared our technology with them. We know exactly what they should be capable of. This exceeds all projections by factors we cannot calculate. That is what makes humans dangerous," Zixthar explained. "We gave them the map, showed them the proper path that all civilized species follow. But humans do not follow maps. They look at our technology and ask, why not do it differently? They experiment. They take risks. They innovate in ways that we stopped doing millennia ago." The council had records of human history, of course. They knew about the world wars, the nuclear weapons, the constant conflicts that marked humanity's path to the stars. Most species unified peacefully through logic and mutual benefit. Humans had unified through exhaustion. After nearly destroying themselves multiple times, the council had debated for years whether such a violent species deserved membership, but ultimately the laws were clear. If a species met the requirements, they could join. Now many in the chamber regretted that decision. "What do we know about this structure?" asked the eldest member, a Velian who had served on the council for 300 years. Her voice carried weight that silenced the murmuring crowd. Zixthar brought up detailed scans. "It is approximately 2 kilometers long, half a kilometer wide. The hull composition defies our sensors. We detect metals, ceramics, polymers we cannot identify, and something else. Something that shifts between our scanning frequencies as if the very matter is unstable." "A ship," someone whispered. "They are building a warship." "The Treaty of Newcomer Species specifically forbids this," the Crethian stated firmly. "No species in their first century of membership may construct vessels of Dreadnought class. This is clearly in violation. We have attempted to contact the human government," Zixthar continued. "They claim this is a research vessel designed for deep space exploration beyond the galactic rim. They say the weapons signatures we detect are merely defensive systems, necessary for unknown threats in unexplored space." "And you believe them?" The Crethian scoffed. "No," Zixthar admitted. "Our analysis suggests this vessel could destroy any ship in the galactic fleet in single combat. Possibly multiple ships." The chamber erupted in chaos. Representatives shouted in dozens of languages, their translator devices struggling to keep pace. The idea that humanity, a species barely out of its infancy in galactic terms, could build something superior to the elder races was unthinkable. It challenged everything they understood about technological progression and civilized development. The ancient Velian raised her hand, and silence fell once more. "We must inspect this vessel. We must confirm whether the humans are violating the treaty. If they are, sanctions must be applied. We have laws for reasons. The humans have refused inspection, Zixthar said quietly. They cite sovereign space rights and privacy of military projects. Military projects they claim do not exist. The Krethian laughed bitterly. They cannot have it both ways. Either this is a research vessel open to inspection, or it is a military project that violates their treaty obligations. We should send a fleet, suggested the Shrath. Not to attack, but to show them we are serious. They are one species, one small system. We are 47 civilizations spanning the galaxy. They will see reason when they understand the consequences. The Ythrian delegate stood, her crystalline body reflecting the red emergency lights. Perhaps we are approaching this incorrectly. Perhaps we should ask ourselves why the humans feel they need such a vessel. Have we given them reason to fear us? Have we threatened them? They are afraid because they know their nature, the Krethian responded. They are predators, warriors, killers. They see threats everywhere because that is how their minds work. They cannot imagine peace because they have never truly known it. That may be true, the Ythrian acknowledged, but it does not change the question. A cornered predator is the most dangerous. If we approach with fleets and threats, we may trigger exactly the conflict we wish to avoid. The debate continued for hours. Some argued for immediate military response. Others counseled patience and diplomacy. A few suggested simply accepting that humanity had advanced beyond their expected trajectory and adjusting the relationship accordingly. But the majority view was clear. The humans had broken the rules or were about to, and the council could not allow that to stand without response. Finally, the vote was called. The decision was made. A fleet would be sent to human space with a simple message: open your construction facility for inspection or face the consequences. The Krethian Dominion, known throughout the galaxy for their military strength and unwavering enforcement of council law, would lead the mission. As the representatives filed out of the chamber, Zixthar remained at the podium, staring at the holographic image of the human construction. Something about it troubled him beyond the obvious treaty violations. The design was strange, incorporating concepts that made no sense according to established engineering principles. It was as if the humans had started from completely different assumptions about how space combat should work. He enlarged the image, focusing on the front of the vessel. There, barely visible in the scans, was text in human writing. The translation software converted it automatically. HDFS Indomitable. The name sent a chill through Zixthar's body. In his long years of diplomatic service, he had learned that names mattered. They revealed intentions, psychology, the soul of a species. The humans could have named this ship anything. They could have chosen something peaceful, something that spoke of exploration and discovery. Instead, they had chosen a name that meant unbreakable, unconquerable, refusing to yield. Zixthar turned off the hologram and left the chamber. He had a terrible feeling that the galaxy was about to learn a hard lesson about humanity, one that might cost many lives before it was over. The question was not whether the humans had built a legendary warship. The question was what they planned to do with it, and whether anyone could stop them if those plans conflicted with galactic law. 3 days later, the Krethian fleet departed for human space. Confident in their superiority and their righteousness, they had no idea they were about to make first contact with something that would change galactic military doctrine forever. Commander Threxkal stood on the bridge of the Krethian battleship Judgment, watching the blue and white sphere of Earth grow larger on the view screen. Behind his ship flew 11 more vessels, a full battle group equipped with enough firepower to subjugate a minor civilization. For this mission, it should be more than sufficient. Status report, Threxkal ordered, his mandibles clicking with satisfaction. We are approaching the boundary of human-claimed space, his tactical officer reported. The humans have sent multiple messages requesting we stop and explain our presence. They say we are violating their territory. Threxkal laughed, a sound like rocks grinding together. Tell them we are here by authority of the Galactic Council. They will submit to inspection of their construction facility, or they will be declared in violation of treaty. There will be no negotiation. The communications officer transmitted the message. The response came quickly, in the simple, direct way that humans seem to prefer. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Human Defense Fleet. You are not authorized to enter our system. Turn back now or you will be considered hostile. Human Defense Fleet? Threxkal found this amusing. What fleet? They have mining ships, transport vessels, a few patrol craft barely worthy of the name. They have no fleet. "Commander, we are detecting a contact," the sensor officer called out, confusion in his voice. "It just appeared. Oh wait, it was there all along. But our sensors could not see it properly. It is big, Commander. Very big." The view screen shifted and Threxcal felt his confidence waver for the first time. The vessel that hung in space before them was massive, larger than any ship in his battle group. But size was not what made him pause. It was the design. The ship looked wrong. Its hull seemed to shimmer and shift, as if it could not quite decide what it wanted to be. The surface appeared smooth, then rough, then layered, then crystalline, all in the space of seconds. Weapons ports lined its flanks, far too many of them, in configurations that made no tactical sense. The entire vessel radiated an aura of wrongness, of something that should not exist according to the natural laws of the universe. "That is their research vessel?" the tactical officer whispered. "Scan it," Threxcal ordered. "Full analysis. I want to know everything about that ship." The sensors worked for several minutes and the results made no sense. The hull composition was unreadable, changing faster than their equipment could analyze. The power signature suggested a reactor system that operated on principles the Crethians did not understand. The weapon systems detected appeared to be kinetic accelerators, primitive mass drivers that had not been used in serious combat for thousands of years. "They are using metal slugs?" Threxcal could not believe it. "They built this massive ship to throw rocks at their enemies?" "Commander, the velocities we are detecting are extremely high," the tactical officer warned. "If those projections are accurate, those projectiles would be moving at significant fractions of light speed." "Impossible. No species can accurately target with kinetic weapons at those velocities. The calculations required would be beyond any computer system we know of." The human admiral's voice came through the speakers again. "You have 10 seconds to begin turning around. After that, we will consider you hostile and respond accordingly." Threxcal had heard enough. These humans, these children who had barely learned to walk among the stars, dared to threaten him? Dared to threaten the might of the Crethian dominion? Enforcers of galactic law for 3,000 years? "All ships, battle formation. Target that vessel. Prepare to disable propulsion systems. We will tow it back to Council space for inspection." "Commander, perhaps we should—" "Execute my orders," Threxcal roared. The Crethian ships moved into attack formation, a maneuver they had practiced countless times, their plasma lance batteries powered up, capable of melting through any known armor. They had used these weapons to bring peace to a dozen rebellious worlds. They would work perfectly against one human ship, no matter how strange it looked. Fire. 12 plasma lances, each carrying the temperature of a small star, lanced across space toward the human vessel. The bridge crew watched with satisfaction. Nothing could survive that much concentrated thermal energy. The human ship did not dodge. It did not activate shields because their sensors showed it had no shields. The plasma simply struck the hull and vanished, absorbed or dispersed or redirected in ways the sensors could not track. The hull shimmered once, twice, and remained completely undamaged. "What?" Threxcal stepped forward, staring at the view screen. "That is impossible. Nothing can just ignore that much energy." "Commander, the human vessel is returning fire." The response was instant. The human ship's flanks lit up with dozens of weapons firing simultaneously. Not energy weapons, but physical projectiles. Chunks of metal accelerated to velocities that made them as deadly as any plasma beam. The targeting was perfect, absolutely perfect, each round aimed with precision that should not be possible. 3 Crethian cruisers took direct hits in the first second. The projectiles punched through their armor like it was paper, through their internal compartments, through everything, creating perfectly straight tunnels of destruction that vented atmosphere and crew into space. The ships began tumbling, their propulsion systems shattered, their weapons offline, their crews dying. "Evasive maneuvers," Threxcal shouted, but the human ship had already calculated where they would move. More projectiles followed, and more Crethian ships took critical damage. In less than 30 seconds of combat, half of Threxcal's battle group was crippled or destroyed. Return fire. All weapons, continuous bombardment. The remaining Crethian ships unleashed everything they had. Plasma lances, particle beams, missile salvos, everything. The space between the fleets lit up like a newborn star. Surely nothing could survive this. Surely. The human ship continued to absorb or deflect the energy weapons. The missiles that got close enough detonated, but the hull remained intact. And all the while, those terrible kinetic weapons kept firing, kept hitting, kept destroying Crethian ships with methodical precision. "Commander, we have lost 7 ships. 4 more are heavily damaged. We cannot win this engagement." Threxkal stared at the tactical display, unable to comprehend what he was seeing. This was not possible. This was not how battles worked. The elder races had rules, understood limits, knew the boundaries of what technology could achieve. This human ship broke every rule, ignored every limit, and demonstrated technology that should not exist. "Retreat," he whispered. Then louder, "All ships retreat! Emergency jump now!" The surviving Krethian vessels turned and activated their faster-than-light drives, jumping away from the battle in random directions, following emergency protocols designed for exactly this kind of disaster. Threxkal's ship was the last to leave, and as it jumped, he watched the human vessel on his view screen. It did not pursue. It simply hung there in space, its hull still shimmering with that strange reality-defying quality. And then a message came through on all frequencies, broadcast in every galactic language. "We built this to protect ourselves. Leave us alone, and you have nothing to fear." The jump took them far from human space, to a rally point where the surviving ships could gather and assess damage. Threxkal looked at his crew, saw the shock and fear in their eyes. They had gone into battle confident, superior, righteous. They had encountered something that shattered that confidence in seconds. "How many?" he asked quietly. 7 ships destroyed, Commander. 4 badly damaged. Over 4,000 casualties, 4,000 dead. Against 1 ship. 1 human ship that had not even seemed to be trying very hard. Threxkal began composing his report to the Krethian High Command and the Galactic Council. He knew they would not believe him at first. He barely believed it himself. But the sensor logs were clear, the damage was real, and the message was unmistakable. Humanity had built something legendary, something that changed everything. And the worst part, the part that would terrify the galaxy when they learned of it, was that the humans had sent that final message. They could have destroyed the entire Krethian fleet easily. They could have pursued and eliminated every ship. But they had chosen mercy, which meant they were not mindless aggressors. They were strategic thinkers who understood that one battle was not a war, that killing could be a choice rather than a necessity. That made them so much more dangerous than any enemy the galaxy had faced before. The Krethian fleet limped home, carrying news that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization. The humans had not just built a powerful warship. They had built something that made the elder races question their own superiority, their own understanding of reality itself. And according to intelligence reports, this ship was not alone. The humans were building more. The report from Commander Threxkal spread through the galactic community like a virus, infecting every government, every military command, every research institution with the same mixture of disbelief and fear. Within days, every major power had dispatched their best scientists to analyze the sensor data from the battle. Within weeks, every military strategist in the galaxy was trying to figure out how to counter the human threat. In the Velian Concordat's primary research facility, Dr. Inshara stared at the holographic recreation of the human vessel's hull. She had been studying it for 16 days straight, barely sleeping, obsessed with understanding what the humans had accomplished. "It should not be possible," she muttered for the 1,000th time. "The quantum states are locked in superposition. The material exists in multiple configurations simultaneously. This is theoretical physics that we proved was impractical 5,000 years ago." Her assistant, a younger Velian named Skren, brought her another stimulant drink. Perhaps the humans did not know it was impractical. Perhaps they simply tried anyway. "That is what terrifies me," Inshara admitted. "We have rules, scientific principles that guide our research. We know what is possible and what is not. The humans seem to ignore those rules entirely. They look at our science and ask, but what if we do it anyway?" The Velian government had authorized an emergency project to replicate the human hull technology. They had assigned 300 of their best scientists and given them unlimited resources. After 16 days, they had managed to create a sample piece of quantum-locked matter, roughly the size of Inshara's hand. It had taken the combined output of their most powerful reactors to produce it, and it had remained stable for exactly 4 seconds before collapsing. The humans had built a ship 2 kilometers long with that technology and made it work. Across the galaxy, similar efforts were underway. The Srath Collective was attempting to develop faster-than-light weapons that could strike before a target could respond. Their logic was simple. If the human ship could not be damaged by conventional weapons, then perhaps unconventional approaches were needed. They were experimenting with temporal distortion weapons that would age the target millions of years in microseconds. The theoretical models were promising. The practical applications kept creating time paradoxes that destroyed the test facilities. The Crethians, humiliated by their defeat, chose a more direct approach. They could not replicate human technology, so they would simply build bigger fleets. If one human ship could defeat 12 Crethian vessels, then they would send 100, 1,000, however many it took. They began the largest military buildup in their history, pulling resources from social programs and civilian projects. The Galactic Council met again, this time in secret session. The public could not know how badly the elder races were panicking. The humans have released technical specifications, Zixthar announced to the gathered representatives. Limited information, but enough to confirm our worst fears. He displayed the data and the room fell silent. The human ship used something called quantum-locked matter framework, a technology that existed in a state of flux between multiple material configurations. Its weapons were magnetically accelerated projectiles, primitive in concept but equipped with artificial intelligence systems that predicted target movement patterns 3 seconds into the future. Its defenses were not shields at all, but micro-positioned armor plates that reconfigured faster than targeting computers could track. Why would they tell us this? The Ythrian delegate asked. Why reveal their secrets? Because they know we cannot replicate it, Zixthar said bitterly. They are demonstrating superiority. They are telling us that even knowing how they did it, we are not capable of doing the same. This is unacceptable, the Crethian representative growled. One species cannot be allowed to dominate the galaxy through military might. That is the exact situation the Galactic Council was created to prevent. Then perhaps we should have thought about that before we gave them access to our technology, the Srath suggested. We showed them our science, our methods, our understanding of the universe. They took that knowledge and built something better. We have no one to blame but ourselves. There is worse news, Zixthar continued. Our intelligence networks have confirmed that the Indomitable is not unique. The humans have 3 more vessels in late stages of construction. They are calling them Relentless, Defiant, and Unbroken. Another wave of shocked murmurs filled the chamber. 4 of these ships, someone calculated. If each one can defeat a dozen of our best vessels, it means humanity could defeat any fleet we send against them, Zixthar finished. And there are indications they plan to build more. Many more, the ancient Velian elder spoke, her voice heavy with resignation. We have created a monster. Not through malice, but through our own arrogance. We assumed all species would follow the same technological path we did. We assumed there was one correct way to advance. The humans have shown us how wrong we were. So what do? The Ythrian asked. We cannot defeat them militarily. We cannot replicate their technology. Do we simply accept that humanity is now the dominant military power in the galaxy? We could impose economic sanctions, someone suggested. Cut off trade, isolate them, make them dependent on us again. And what happens when they decide to take what they need by force? The Crethian challenged. We know they are capable of violence. We know they will fight when threatened. Economic warfare might trigger exactly the conflict we wish to avoid. The debate raged for hours, but no consensus emerged. Some factions wanted to continue trying to match human technology. Others proposed diplomatic approaches, offering humanity full partnership in galactic affairs in exchange for limiting their military buildup. A few extremist voices quietly suggested that humanity should be eliminated entirely before they became unstoppable. That last suggestion was quickly dismissed, but not forgotten. Meanwhile, in human space, Admiral Sarah Chen stood in the observation deck of the Indomitable, watching construction crews work on the Relentless. The ship was already taking shape, its quantum-locked hull shimmering with that characteristic instability that terrified other species. Her second officer, Commander Park, joined her with a tablet full of reports. Intelligence indicates the galaxy is in a state of panic. Every major power is either trying to copy our technology or building up their conventional forces. Expected, Chen said calmly. We knew this would happen. The question is whether they will try to attack us again, or whether they will learn from the Crethians' mistake. Some of the analysis suggests there are factions pushing for a preemptive strike. Hit us before we finish the other ships. Let them try, Chen replied. The Indomitable is fully operational. We could hold off an invasion fleet long enough for Earth's defenses to activate, and if they do attack, they will unite humanity against them in a way that nothing else could. They would turn us from a cautious species into a vengeful one. Park pulled up another report. There is something else you should see. Long-range telescopes have detected unusual activity in the Perseus Arm. High-energy events, star systems going dark, massive gravitational distortions. Chen frowned, zooming in on the data. This pattern looks familiar. Pull up the Historical Archives, Section 7, Subsection 12. Park's eyes widened as he accessed the files. The Devourer warnings. But those are ancient history. The last incursion was over 3,000 years ago. And they are supposed to return every few millennia, Chen said quietly. The elder races have had peace for so long they have forgotten what real war looks like. They fight each other with rules, with limits, with the expectation that everyone will behave rationally. You think the Devourers are coming back? I think we built these ships for a reason, Commander. And I think that reason is about to reveal itself. Chen looked out at the construction yards where humanity's legendary warships were taking shape. The galaxy was afraid of humanity now, afraid of what they had built. But soon, very soon, they would understand why it had been necessary. The Indomitable and her sister ships were not built to conquer. They were built to protect, to defend, to stand against threats that the comfortable, peaceful elder races had forgotten could exist. Humanity remembered. Humanity had clawed its way up from a planet full of predators and survived by being the most dangerous predator of all. And now, that predator instinct, that survival drive, that refusal to give up, was about to save a galaxy that did not yet realize it needed saving. Keep monitoring those signals, Chen ordered, and send a message to Earth. Tell them to accelerate construction on the remaining ships. I have a feeling we are going to need them sooner than anyone expected. The warning came too late for anyone to properly prepare. The Devourer swarm burst through the galactic rim at 17 different points simultaneously, each entry marked by a massive spatial distortion that sent shockwaves through subspace. They were not ships in any conventional sense, but living creatures the size of moons, biological horrors that fed on solar energy and consumed entire planetary systems to sustain their vast population. The first worlds to fall were remote colonies on the outer edges of Srath space. The Devourers descended like a plague, their feeding tentacles stripping entire planets of their atmospheres in hours, their massive jaws cracking open worlds to reach the mineral-rich cores. Billions died before evacuation could even be attempted. The Galactic Council mobilized every available fleet. This was exactly the kind of existential threat they had prepared for, the reason they maintained a military force at all. The elder races had records of previous Devourer incursions, detailed battle plans, strategies that had worked before. They were confident they could handle this threat. They were wrong. The battle group that intercepted the first major swarm consisted of 300 ships from a dozen different species, the largest unified military force assembled in over 1,000 years. They met the Devourers at the Krinthal system, hoping to protect the heavily populated worlds there. The engagement lasted 4 hours. It was a massacre. The Devourers were not like other enemies the galaxy had faced. They did not follow tactical doctrine. They did not care about losses. They simply swarmed forward in overwhelming numbers, absorbing damage that would have destroyed conventional vessels, regenerating from wounds that should have been fatal. Adapting to weapons after the first few hits rendered them progressively less effective. The elder races fought with honor, with precision, with technology refined over millennia. The Devourers fought with hunger, with instinct, with numbers that made strategy irrelevant. For every Devourer the galactic fleet destroyed, 3 more took its place. When the battle ended, over 200 galactic vessels were destroyed or disabled. The Devourers lost perhaps 30 of their numbers, a tiny fraction of their total swarm, and they continued advancing toward the densely populated core systems. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session once again, but this time the mood was different. This was not political debate or diplomatic maneuvering. This was species-level survival instinct kicking in. We need to evacuate the core worlds, the Velian elder said, her voice shaking for the first time in her 300 years. We cannot stop them. We must save who we can. Evacuate billions, the Krethian representative asked. To where? The Devourers are coming from multiple vectors. There is nowhere safe. Then we die, someone said quietly. We die because we forgot how to truly fight. We forgot that sometimes survival requires more than precision and honor. It requires savagery. Zixthar stood slowly, his three eyes focusing on the tactical display showing the Devourer advance. There is one force in the galaxy that remembers savagery, one species that never forgot how to fight without rules. Everyone knew who he meant. No, the Krethian said immediately. We cannot ask them. We cannot give them that satisfaction, that power over us. Pride is a luxury we can no longer afford. The Ythrian delegate said softly. Our children are dying. Our worlds are falling. If the humans can help, we must ask. The vote was called. It passed by the narrowest margin in Council history. They would send a diplomatic mission to Earth, offering humanity anything they wanted in exchange for military assistance. Technology sharing, territorial concessions, full partnership in galactic governance, anything at all. The human response came within an hour. Admiral Chen appeared on the view screen and her expression was hard, unreadable. We have been monitoring the situation, she said. We know what the Devourers are. We know what they do. We have been preparing for this possibility since we first learned of them. Then you will help? Zixthar asked, hope creeping into his voice. We do not want your technology, Chen replied. We do not want your territory or your political power. We just want you to stay out of our way and let us do what needs to be done. You are sending the Indomitable? We are sending 4 ships. Indomitable, relentless, defiant, and unbroken. The other vessels in construction are not ready yet. 4 ships. The Krethian laughed bitterly. We sent 300 and lost. What can 4 ships do? Chen's expression did not change. You sent 300 ships designed to fight civilized enemies. We built 4 ships designed to kill monsters. You are about to learn the difference. The transmission ended and the council chamber fell silent. Some felt relief that help was coming. Others felt dread at what the humans might demand later. A few simply felt resignation that they had lost control of the situation entirely. The human fleet departed Earth 3 hours later, jumping directly into the heart of the combat zone. They did not request coordinates or tactical briefings. They did not coordinate with galactic forces. They simply arrived and immediately engaged the nearest Devourer cluster. The battle was nothing like what the elder races were used to seeing. The Indomitable led the charge, its quantum-locked hull shrugging off the Devourer's bioenergy beams as if they were nothing. Its kinetic accelerators opened fire, and the difference in approach was immediately apparent. The galactic forces had been trying to disable the Devourers, to neutralize them humanely. The humans simply destroyed them, punching massive holes through their bodies with projectiles moving at velocities that made molecular bonds irrelevant. The Relentless moved in a pattern that made no tactical sense, until observers realized it was hurting the Devourers, pushing them into kill zones where the other ships could fire with maximum efficiency. The Defiant deployed what appeared to be nuclear weapons, crude explosive devices that no civilized species had used in thousands of years, but at yields and in configurations that turned entire swarms into expanding clouds of biological debris. And the Unbroken lived up to its name, taking damage that would have destroyed any other vessel and continuing to fight, its adaptive armor reconfiguring, its redundant systems keeping it operational even when over 30% of its hull was compromised. But it was the overall strategy that truly shocked the galactic observers. The humans were not trying to save every world. They were identifying the queen nodes, the central intelligence creatures that coordinated the swarm, and eliminating them with surgical precision. Once a queen node died, the Devourers it controlled became confused, disorganized, easy prey for follow-up strikes. They are using analysis, Dr. Inshara realized, watching the battle feeds. They are studying the Devourers in real time, learning their biology, their behavior patterns, and adapting their tactics constantly. This is not military doctrine. This is active problem-solving during combat. Within 12 hours, the humans had eliminated 3 major swarm clusters. Within 24 hours, they had reduced the Devourer presence in the core sectors by 40%. The elder races watching from their command centers could barely comprehend what they were seeing. How? The Krethian commander asked. How are they doing this? Because they do not fight like us, Zixthar replied, understanding finally dawning. We developed rules for warfare because we fought each other, and we all wanted to survive. We fight to win conflicts, not to exterminate enemies. The humans fight like the Devourers, with total commitment, with complete focus on eliminating the threat. You are saying they are savages? No, Sixthar corrected. I am saying they remember how to be savages when necessary. They can turn it on and off like a switch. They know when to be civilized and when to unleash violence. We forgot how to make that choice. The battle raged for 3 days across dozens of star systems. The human ships took damage, serious damage, but they continued fighting with a determination that bordered on recklessness. The Relentless had its entire starboard section blown away, but continued maneuvering on thrusters alone. The Defiant's main cannon was destroyed, so it started ramming smaller Devourers at relativistic speeds. On the 3rd day, the humans identified the primary hive ship, the massive Queen Mother that had spawned and coordinated the entire invasion. It was hiding in the debris field of a shattered world, protected by thousands of lesser Devourers. The Indomitable went straight for it. Admiral Chen stood on her bridge, calmly giving orders as her ship took fire from every direction. The hull shimmered and flexed, absorbing damage. But even quantum-locked matter had limits. Sections were breaching, crew were dying, but Chen's voice never wavered. All power to forward momentum. Shut down everything non-essential. I want every ounce of energy pushing us toward that target. Admiral, if we shut down the weapon systems, we cannot defend ourselves, Commander Park warned. We do not need to defend ourselves, Chen replied. We just need to reach the target. Prepare the 0-point reactor for emergency discharge. Park's eyes widened. That will destroy the ship. Yes, it will. All hands abandon ship protocols. Get everyone to the escape pods now. Admiral, you need to evacuate too. Someone needs to pilot this ship into the target, Commander. That someone is me. Now go, that is an order? The Indomitable accelerated, its hull taking more and more damage, pieces breaking away, atmosphere venting, but its quantum-locked frame holding together the explosion lit up the entire sector, a brief new star that could be seen from dozens of systems. When the light faded, the hive ship was gone. Admiral Chen was gone, and the Indomitable was nothing but scattered debris floating in space. But the mission was complete. Without the Queen Mother, the Devourer swarm lost its coordination. The creatures became confused, aggressive toward each other, easy targets for the remaining human ships and the rallying galactic forces. Over the next 72 hours, the combined fleet methodically eliminated the remaining Devourers, driving the survivors back toward the galactic rim. Commander Park, now acting captain of the Relentless, led the final push. His ship was barely functional, held together by emergency patches and crew determination, but it kept fighting. The Defiant had lost main power and was operating on backup systems. The Unbroken had earned its name a dozen times over, still operational despite damage that should have torn it apart. When the last confirmed Devourer fled into deep space, retreating back to the void between galaxies, Park allowed himself to finally breathe. They had won, but the cost was staggering. The Relentless had lost over 300 crew. The Defiant had lost 200. The Unbroken had somehow kept its casualties to just under 100, but only through the heroic efforts of its medical and damage control teams. And the Indomitable, humanity's first legendary warship, was gone along with Admiral Sarah Chen and 47 crew members who had stayed behind to keep the ship operational until the final moment. The galactic fleet had suffered too. Another 100 ships lost, tens of thousands of casualties, dozens of worlds damaged or destroyed. The total death toll from the invasion would not be known for years, but estimates put it in the billions. But the galaxy survived, and everyone knew who had saved it. The Galactic Council convened 2 weeks after the final battle. This time there was no debate, no political maneuvering, no species jockeying for position. Representatives filed in quietly, solemnly, aware that they were witnessing a fundamental shift in galactic power dynamics. The human delegation arrived last. Commander Park represented humanity now, wearing a dress uniform that still bore scorch marks from battle. He walked with a slight limp, courtesy of an injury sustained when the Relentless had taken a direct hit to its command deck. The Council recognizes Commander Jason, Park of the Human Defense Fleet, the Ancient. Velian Elder said formally. The galaxy owes humanity a debt that can never be fully repaid. We wish to offer, with respect, Elder, Park interrupted gently. We do not want payment. We did not fight for reward. We fought because it was necessary. because the devourers would have consumed everyone if left unchecked. Nevertheless, humanity has proven itself beyond any doubt. The Treaty of Newcomer Species is hereby dissolved. We offer humanity a permanent seat on the Galactic Council, with full voting rights and status equal to the founding members. Park nodded slowly. We accept the council seat. We accept the recognition of our sovereignty. But there is something else that must be addressed. Name it, the Krethian representative said. Anything humanity requires. We will continue building our warships. The Indomitable is gone, but we are already laying the keel for her replacement. We will build the ships we feel are necessary for the defense of not just humanity, but the entire galaxy. And you will not interfere with this. Silence fell over the chamber. This was exactly what the galaxy had feared. Humanity building an unstoppable military force. But the context had changed. The fear was still there, but it was mixed with something else now. You believe the Devourers will return, the Srath representative said quietly. We know they will, Park confirmed. This was not their full force. This was a scouting swarm, a test of galactic defenses. When they return in force, we need to be ready. All of us. You are proposing a unified defense force? Zixthar asked. No. Each species should maintain their own fleets, their own command structures. But we should share technology, train together, establish joint protocols for responding to existential threats. The Devourers are not the only danger out there. The galaxy is a vast place, and we have explored only a tiny fraction of it. The Ythrian delegate spoke, her crystalline voice carrying sadness and respect. We spent millennia believing we had transcended the need for warriors, that civilization meant leaving violence behind. Humanity has reminded us that some threats cannot be negotiated with or reasoned with. Some enemies must simply be fought. We have not transcended violence, Park agreed. We have just learned to control it, to use it only when necessary. Every human grows up learning about our wars, our mistakes, our capacity for destruction. We study history so we do not repeat it, but we also remember the lessons. Remember what it takes to survive when survival is not guaranteed. And you think we have forgotten these lessons? The Krethian asked. I think you had the luxury of forgetting them, Park replied. The galaxy has been peaceful for so long that war became a theoretical exercise, something that happened in controlled ways with understood limits. Real war, war for survival, is not theoretical. It is terrible, brutal, and necessary. The Council voted unanimously to accept Park's proposal. They also voted to grant humanity exemption from all military restrictions and acknowledged humanity's right to build whatever vessels they deemed necessary. Some representatives made these votes with genuine gratitude. Others voted out of fear of what might happen if they refused. But all of them understood that the galaxy had changed forever. Over the following months, humanity completed construction on 3 new warships to replace the fallen Indomitable. They were named Dauntless, Vengeful, and Remember the Relentless, each name carrying meaning that the galaxy was learning to understand. These were not just vessels. They were statements, declarations that humanity would not forget what they had lost and would honor those sacrifices by remaining vigilant. The shipyards at Jupiter expanded, adding more construction bays. Humanity was planning for a fleet of 20 legendary warships, enough to respond to multiple threats simultaneously, enough to defend the galaxy against the next incursion. And other species, learning from human innovation, began upgrading their own fleets with new technologies, new approaches, new willingness to think differently about warfare. Commander Park stood in the observation deck of the new Council station, looking out at the assembled fleet. Human ships, Velian cruisers, Krathian battleships, Srath carriers, all training together, learning to coordinate, preparing for the threats that everyone now acknowledged were inevitable. Zixthar joined him, the Velian ambassador who had first warned the galaxy about humanity's construction project. It felt like a lifetime ago, though it had been less than a year. We feared you, Zixthar admitted. When we first detected the Indomitable, we thought you were building a weapon to conquer us. We were building a weapon, Park corrected. Just not to conquer. To defend. The difference seems clearer now than it did then. Tell me, Commander, do you ever regret that humanity was forced to become warriors again? Your people had achieved peace on Earth. You could have stayed isolated, safe in your own system. Park thought about Admiral Chen, about the crew of the Indomitable, about all the humans who had died fighting an enemy that was not even targeting Earth specifically. He thought about the billions of aliens across the galaxy who were alive because humanity had remembered how to fight. Regret? He said finally. No. We built these ships because we learned a lesson that we can never forget. The universe does not care about peace. It does not care about civilization or progress or enlightenment. It simply exists, vast and dangerous and full of things that will kill you if you are not prepared. We can hope for peace, work for peace, cherish peace when we have it, but we must always be ready for war. A dark philosophy, Zixthar observed. A survival philosophy, Park corrected. Your people, all the elder races, you had peace for so long you forgot that it was not guaranteed. You thought the universe was safe because you made it safe in your little corner. We never forgot that beyond the light there is always darkness. And now you stand guard against that darkness. Not just us, all of us. That is what humanity wants, Ambassador. We do not want to rule the galaxy or dominate other species. We want partners, allies, friends who will stand with us when the next threat emerges. Because there will be a next threat. There always is. Far below the station. In the training yards, human and alien crews worked side by side, learning each other's languages, sharing combat techniques, building the relationships that would be crucial when the next crisis came. It was not perfect and old prejudices died slowly. But it was happening. The galaxy had freaked out when humans built a legendary warship. They had panicked, militarized, feared the worst. And then they had learned why that warship was necessary, why humanity's capacity for violence was not a bug but a feature, a survival trait that could protect everyone when wielded with wisdom. The Indomitable was gone, but her legacy lived on in every ship that bore a human name, in every joint training exercise, in every alien captain who studied human tactics and thought, maybe we can do it differently.